Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk about a topic that has probably impacted everybody. Today we're going to talk about what happens when you think you have the perfect routine. You've taken the time to be very strategic at mapping out the perfect morning routine or the afternoon routine, or you are ready to go and have everything for that after work routine. This is the year, this is the month, this is the week we're going to be productive, or that bulletproof business strategy that looks so beautiful on paper, but when it comes to executing in real life, it's just something isn't working and something isn't jiving. Well, today we're going to talk about number one, how do we identify what the roadblock or the stop gap is in stopping us from getting our goals? But more importantly, we're going to specifically talk about how we fix those issues so that whatever the goals are in front of us, we're able to accomplish. So we're going to look at three key components. Number two is my absolute fave. So let's go ahead and get started. So all my videos pretty much follow a very similar format. We're going to talk about what is the reason or what are the things that are stopping us from hitting it, and then we're going to get into the solutions. So let's look at some common pitfalls, and I want you to comment down below if any of these resonate with you or you're currently experiencing any of these right now as you're striving for your goals. The first one is perfection paralysis. I've talked about this before, but this is that elusive perfection that you're seeking where everything in the stars aligns and you just feel like your plan can actually take place because every box has been checked off on your to-do list and how you planned it. But that perpetual planning, that perfection actually never makes its way to action because you're constantly planning. You're constantly perfecting the routine and you're constantly putting off action because it's just not perfect. So warning, type A personalities, this is definitely something that you experience. This is where you feel like you need to order that last little item off of Amazon to make something work. This is where you feel like I'm going to start on this particular day of the week and so I can't start now. It's just waiting for that feeling that feels good inside and then it never happens because you never get started. A lot of times with perfection, the fear of making mistakes actually paralyzes a lot of people too, because they have this beautiful, perfect plan in their head and they are so afraid that if they actually get started with action, then they're not going to be able to move forward or be successful in their plan. The second pitfall, I think, is what most of us experience, and I would be curious to see what your experiences are with this, and that is reality versus expectations. Y'all, how many things have we started or endeavors that we have in our mind, and think about it, in your mind, whatever it is that you're executing, you really never go through the thought process of all of the things and outcome that are gonna happen. You may think of some obstacles along the way, but if you have this gun-ho mentality that this is the year that you're gonna lose 25 pounds, the end result is you losing 25 pounds. Now, the action that has to take place, you may have questions or even hesitations about, but you're not thinking, okay, I'm gonna give it my all, I'm gonna do everything, I'm gonna get all this in place, and I'm gonna gain weight. It's the same thing. It could be with something as simple as starting a YouTube channel. I remember that when I started this channel in March of last year, I never thought it was gonna be quote unquote easy, but I definitely had no idea that once the euphoria and the reality wore off of starting this thing that I've been putting off for years and actually doing it, that it was really going to get hard and it was really going to take a while to get to where I am, at least today, and I'm very happy with where I am. But the point is that reality, once it sets in, that a lot of times knocks people off their feet because it just isn't what they're expecting, and so they give up. And I think the other thing that happens a lot of times with reality versus everything is that we create either very, very rigid timelines where we think that these things are going to happen in this very rapid sequential order. And then when it doesn't, we just want to wring our hands, or we put ourselves in situations where we underestimate the complexity of the task or the underestimation of the resources that are going to be needed in order to do something. And so really step back and take a look at, are you overestimating your ability to get things done in a realistic timeline? And are you underestimating what it's going to take in order to get it done? So how are we going to fix this? What is this going to look like? So I'm going to give you 3 tips. And the first one is going to be track and adjust. I cannot emphasize this enough. You have to monitor what you expect. When I was an administrator, and even now in my current role, I'm constantly telling my team what gets monitored gets done. And there's a reason that that phrase resonates, and it works in all aspects of life. If you aren't keeping your eye on the prize, if you aren't keeping your eye on the goal, and you're just willy-nilly going about life, you're not going to be able to ascertain where you are at all given times. Now, how detailed you do that, that's completely up to you and your personality. I posted my Notion template, I think, in my last video video, and that's a pretty detailed type A Virgo personality. If that is not you, then don't make it about you. But there has got to be some kind of weekly system that you have in place that monitors where you're going. If your goal, and I remember a lot of you shared at the beginning of the year, you want to read 25 books. Well, how are you currently monitoring that? If your goal is you want to lose 10 pounds, how are you currently monitoring that? If your goal is that you want to spend more time with your spouse or you want to do more things with your kids, how are you monitoring that? It's probably written down somewhere with a list of action steps, but you don't have a you don't have a system in place to actually monitor it. And that is the part that a lot of people forget when they are coming up with systems and goals. They come up with the goal, that's not a problem. And you all even come up with systems and you start implementing those systems. But without monitoring the system and then tracking and adjusting as needed, you're going to constantly find yourself in a situation where you're not able to achieve. So what I like to do every single week is I have a weekly preview, and I've shared this tons and tons and times on my channel. I use the Full Focus Planner, and every week I have a weekly preview. If you're interested in what that looks like, I will link up the video on how I plan my week. And I'm actually going to be filming a video in the next couple of weeks about how I get more done in a week than most people get done in a month. But this is my system. And then I do use Notion to kind of backdoor that, but Notion is not really something that you need, but having a way. So every Sunday I look at what my previous goals were for the week, my big three, and then I monitor and I track them. And I look back and link those back to my quarterly goals. So if you're not tracking and adjusting, whether you do something as simple as get a Post-it note and write your goal on it, and then a week from now you look to see where you're making progress on that, or if you have something complex that you're doing on the computer, you've got to have something in place to track and adjust. And I would argue that most of you that work outside of the home, or even if you have your own business, you utilize data in some component to make decisions. Imagine having a goal and you never run data points in order to see how the goal is progressing. Would you allow that at work? Probably not. Second one is my favorite, and I love that I'm at the stage of life where I can embrace imperfection. Look, I don't have to have the perfect setting, scene anymore for me to get started. Start before you're ready, because that's far better than not starting at all. You know, I remember when I used to get ready at the new year to start working out, and I would have to order brand new workout clothes and brand new shoes. That is not going to change the output of me getting up and actually exercising. Now, what I will say is decide what your non-negotiables are when it comes to the bare minimum things that you feel like you need to get started. If you need that new pair of running shoes and that's gonna get you up off the couch, go get the running shoes. If you need to have an accountability partner because you're not yet at the place where maybe you can do a preview by yourself, get the accountability partner. But whatever you do, embrace imperfection and understand that that is an absolute reality, and stop expecting everything to fall into place the way that it was in your head. And I love having flexibility so that when changes happen, they happen. And trust me, as I've gotten older, I definitely have rolled with the punches more. I probably wasn't as fluid and as flexible when I was in my early 30s as I am now. Perfect example, my in-laws are here because my brother-in-law and sister-in-law have COVID, and they stay over there most of the time, and so they're here for the week, and so we just flex and adjust. It just is what it is. You just go with the program. I have the whole week off. I had these plans. I was gonna do this, I was gonna do that. They're in their 80s, so I need to be here for them because my husband has to go to work this week. That's not a problem though, because guess what? That calls for flexibility and adjustment. It is 5 or 3:41, and I am filming this video that in my mind, I was gonna film at 9 o'clock when I planned it on Sunday. Not happening, but it's still getting done. And that goes back to flexibility. How much are you able to roll with the punches when you need to be? And then the last one is, what is your implementation strategy? I know we talk a lot about goals and systems on this channel, but the actual implementation, those of you in education know that when you're teaching kids, that's called tier 1 instruction. The implementation of tier 1 instruction is the most important thing that happens in the classroom. So what is the implementation of whatever it is that your goal is that needs to happen? Like, how do you actually implement it? I know it's on paper. I know you have it planned out. I know it's in your head, but what are the actual action steps that you've utilized to actually implement the goal? And I should always start with breaking down your bigger goals into smaller goals. Perfect example, and I'll share with you a very fluid goal. I would love to lose 15 pounds this 12 weeks between January 1st and April the 1st, that little 12-week period. But I am not going to say I want to lose 15 pounds and not break that into smaller goals. I want to lose this much pounds a week. I want to be able to run this much a week. I want to be able to exercise this many times. I want to be able to actually drink my 64 ounces of water that I keep writing down every day. And so whether it is a bigger goal and you break it down to smaller goals so you do not become overwhelmed, or you're needing that bigger goal to actually ascertain what the timeline looks like to achieve that goal, I would really encourage you to take your goal and to break it into smaller pieces, which is why I love quarterly planning versus yearly planning. And then you have to create these very clear metrics in your implementation system that show you whether you are progressing or not. The 12-week year is an excellent example of how that could look. Free to focus, another excellent example of how that looks. How do you take something, break it down over 12 weeks or break it down over a quarter? What does it look like every week? What does it look like every day? So that you're constantly striving to get to that larger, bigger goal. So here's your homework. I want you to go back and I want you to figure out whatever goal it is that you're really not thriving in. I want you to figure out which of the 3 pieces, if more than one piece, is missing. Is it because you don't have a way of tracking and adjusting your current system? Is it because you are someone that is not really embracing imperfection and you're expecting things to be perfect? Or are you somebody who needs to work on your implementation strategy? Which one of the 3 is your biggest challenge? Embracing imperfection, tracking and adjusting, or your implementation strategy? Leave your comments down below because I'm definitely curious to see which one. And as always, I want to thank you all so much. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and make sure you put on the bell for notifications so that you always know when I upload a video. I'll see y'all in the next video.